Good evening, everyone, to this City Council meeting on the first day of summer, June 20th, 2024. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller,
Present.
Councilor Anderbois, Councilwoman Anthony,
Present.
Councilman Espinal, Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves,
Present.
Councilwoman Graves, Deputy Majority Leader Harris,
Present.
Councilwoman Peterson, Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo, Councilor Royas,
Present.
Councilwoman Ryan,
Present.
Majority Whip Sanchez,
Present.
Majority Leader Taylor,
Present.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas,
Present.
Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Present.
You have 15 present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This evening, the invocation will be given by Councilman James E. Taylor. Will everyone please rise, including our guests?
Whoa, James E. Taylor. Thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in fruitful outcome. We ask for your wisdom and grace to use our talents for the betterment of others. Amen.
Thank you. And tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag,
of
United
the United
States
States
of
of
America,
America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, item 3, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 3 and move approval.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 4.
Motion to waive, Madam President. sorry.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Motion to waive the reading of items 4 and 5.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer item 4 to the Committee on Finance and note 5 as received.
So noted.
Item 6.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of items 6 through 12 and pass for the second time on a roll call vote.
Second that motion, Madam President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 6 through 12? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller,
Aye.
Councilor Anderbois, Councilwoman Anthony, Councilman Espinal, Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves,
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves, Deputy Majority Leader Harris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson,
Aye.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo,
Aye.
Councilor Royas,
Nay on item 7.
so noted. Councilwoman Ryan,
Aye.
Majority Whip Sanchez,
Nay on item number 7 and aye on the rest.
Majority Leader Taylor,
Aye on all of them.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas,
Aye.
Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Aye.
So you have 15 ayes on all matters, except for number 7, where you have 13 ayes and 2 nays. The motion carries. The matters are approved for the second time on a roll call vote.
Thank you. Item 13.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 13 and 14.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 13 and 14? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please refer item 13 to the Committee on Finance and 14 to the Committee on Ordinances. Thank you. Item 15.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 15 and 16 and withdraw.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 15 and 16? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please note 15 and 16 as withdrawn.
So noted.
Item 17.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of items 17 through 22.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 17 through 22? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please refer items 17 through 22 to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
Item 23,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of items 23 and 24 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 23 and 24? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motions pass. Item 25,
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 25, and if the clerk could read that into the record as well.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please read item 25?
Item 25, whereas Carl G. Lauro was born on April 8, 1926 in Brockton, Mass., and moved to Providence, Rhode Island as a baby. And whereas Carl G. Lauro grew up on Federal Hill, attended Kenyon Street Elementary School, and graduated from Central High School in 1944. And whereas Carl G. Lauro received his undergraduate degree from the University of Rhode Island in 1948 and his graduate degree from Brown University in 1961, being one of the first public school teachers to receive a National Science Foundation Fellowship for graduate work in STEM education. And whereas, as a first-generation Italian immigrant, Carl G. Lauro experienced racial and ethnic discrimination firsthand, which fueled his dedication to supporting minority students. And whereas, Carl G. Lauro began his teaching career at Central High School in 1953, where he wrote Negro Pioneers in Science to inspire his black students by highlighting the achievements of scientific luminaries like George Washington Carver and Booker T. Washington. And whereas Carl G. Lauro, seeing a need, coached the Central High School wrestling team to its first New England Wrestling Championship. And whereas Carl G. Lauro served the Providence School Department from 1953 to 1976 as a teacher and administrator, holding positions such as science supervisor, curriculum implementation manager, deputy superintendent, and acting superintendent at the time of his untimely death. And whereas the Providence School Committee resolved on August 24, 1978, that Kenyon Street Elementary School be renamed Carl G. Lauro Memorial Elementary School in his honor. And whereas the Carl G. Lauro Memorial Elementary School served the community for nearly 44 years until its closure in June 2023. Now therefore be it resolved that the portion of Kenyon Street between De Pasquale Ave and America Street, located directly in front of the former Carl G. Lauro School, be given the honorary distinction of Carl G. Lauro Way to commemorate the lasting impact of Carl G. Lauro on the Providence community and his unwavering dedication to education and equality. Be it further resolved that the City Council requests the Department of Public Works to manufacture, install, and maintain one or more honorary signs at prominent and appropriate locations along that portion of Kenyon Street, which shall reflect the Carl G. Lauro Way honorary designation. And be it further resolved that upon passage, copies of this resolution be sent to the family of Carl G. Lauro, the office of the Honorable Mayor Brett Smiley, and the office of the Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion on item 25? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer 25 to the Committee on IRP.
So noted.
Item 26.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 26 and 27 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 26 and 27?
Yes. 27.
Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the Providence City Council. I rise in gratitude from the municipal government of Cayetano Hermosen, Moca, Dominican Republic, in the donation of the fire apparatus. They are very grateful. They are very thankful. It's something that is desperately needed within that town, and Providence has always found a way to help other municipalities and help other people. So they are very grateful, and they wanted me to extend their gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Further discussion on item 26 or 27? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 28.
Madam President, motion to waive the reading of item 28.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 28? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please refer item 28 to the Committee on IRP.
So noted.
Item 29.
Madam President.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Motion to waive the readings of items 29 through 31 and pass on a voice vote, and also if the clerk could read into the record item number 30.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please read item 30 before we continue discussion?
Item 30, whereas June 19th is a symbolic date for our nation, as on that date in 1865, some 2,000 Union troops arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas, and announced that the more than 250,000 slaves in the state were free by executive decree under the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas this day of freedom came to be known as Juneteenth by the newly freed people in Texas and is now celebrated in all 50 states and the District of Columbia as a special day of observance in recognition of the emancipation of all slaves in the United States. And whereas Juneteenth would not be possible were it not for the courage, determination, and strength of former slaves who relentlessly fought for their freedom and dignity. And whereas the United States Congress has recognized the cultural and historical significance of Juneteenth as part of the history and heritage of the United States. And whereas Juneteenth serves as a lasting reminder to all Americans about the horrors of slavery that mark our nation's history, celebrates the emancipation of all slaves in the United States, and provides a forum for open and honest dialogue around what measures are still needed in order to ensure permanent equality and opportunity for the African American community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Providence City Council hereby recognizes and celebrates Juneteenth for its historical significance to the United States and in recognition of the contributions that former slaves and their descendants have made throughout the history of our nation. And be it further resolved that the Providence City Council hereby recognizes June 19th as Juneteenth in the city of Providence.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion on items 29 through 31? Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to quickly plug and encourage folks to attend the Juneteenth celebration. That is from 12 to 7 p.m. at the pedestrian bridge in my colleague's ward on Saturday.
Thank you, Councilman. Further discussion, items 29 through 31.
Council.
Councilwoman Graves.
I just want to also clarify something. We keep saying the Emancipation Day. That's when they were told 2.5 years after this was already decreed by the president. So the state of Texas knew, but they didn't let the slaves know. So this day is very important for the freedom of all of the slaves, but that state has stayed enslaved for 2.5 years, and I think that needs to be recognized and also added.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Harris.
I'm going to stand, Council President. I want to stand because I want to appreciate the fact that the council is going to be supporting this resolution. And it's very, very important because, first of all, history should never be erased, no matter how dark, how dirty, and how ugly it may be. It should never be erased. I love the idea that we have Carl G. Laura in here, a man that I just heard that made sure that Black Americans understood the history. A lot of times, even now, as we see, even as we look in Congress and we see so many things being rolled back, even around the board, Brown versus the Board of Education, a lot of this stuff is not available for schools to be able to teach. There's no material teaching on Black history or the history that has happened in this country. I believe the work and the history that was provided, even in the little that we know, have been able to move this country forward. We've been able to receive so many rights and rights that other people have based on the fact that a lot of people sacrifice. So I appreciate the council for recognizing Juneteenth. Juneteenth was won by some organizers from the state perspective. And yes, I agree with Councilman Sanchez. He was there last year celebrating. We need to embrace history, and especially history of this country and how this country has its own little stories to be told. So I appreciate this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, items 29 through 31. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion's pass. Madam Clerk, item 32.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 32 through 35 and pass for the first time on a roll call vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Chairwoman Anthony.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm just going to say a few words on our budget. As you know, Mayor Smiley presented us with a lean budget this year, reflecting the fact that we no longer have federal ARPA funds to rely upon and a budget that reflects his priority to city services. The finance team diligently examined the department's budgets as well as the Providence Public School Department budget, and I thank my committee members and all the counselors who attended all the finance meetings because it's important. This is our opportunity to really do an in-depth dive on all the city departments and ask questions about how things are run, what we would like to see differently. So I really appreciate everyone's participation. The schedule was daunting, but we did it, and I think we did it well. I'm most proud of the fact we held 2 public hearings on the budget, both of which were very well attended, and I think we listened and learned a lot from those public hearings. As a result of our diligence and with the help of our auditor, Gina Costa, Chief of Staff June Rose, Senior Policy Director Aaron Easter Gardner, the Mayor's Administration and Finance team, we were able to find a way to allocate an additional $2.5 million to the Providence Public Schools, bringing the total allocation from the city to $5.5 million. This is the largest increase to the school budget in the last 15 years at least. And while that amount won't close the budget gap in PPSD's budget, it does reduce it to an amount that we believe can be covered by their reserve, which is something that PPSD does and no other city department does. So I just want to bring that to your attention. The gap can be covered by the reserve, we're sure of it, and we hope that's what's done. In addition, we added 2 positions in the municipal court, an interpreter, which is required by the DOJ, and a public defender. We also allocated $125,000 to the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council, an additional $50,000 to city year. So I feel very proud that those were the additions we were able to make in a particularly lean year and a lean budget. We were able to reallocate the funds without significantly impacting the budget of other departments, primarily by increasing our projected tax collection rate by 0.25% and by splitting the cost of the next police academy between 2 fiscal years, which we have done before and which is acceptable to them. Most of the other changes were to unfund vacant positions throughout the city. I thank the council leader for her leadership, the council president. I also wanted to give a special thanks to the finance team, Chief Mancini, Director Silveria, Deputy Director Lindberg, who were at every single meeting with us and participating, answering our questions. And of course, a very, very special thanks to our wonderful clerks, Donna Pelesian and Lauren Gutierrez, who actually was carrying a child through the whole process, almost ready to deliver. So I'm very grateful for everyone's participation. I feel really good about the budget we passed, and again, thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Councilman Gonsalves.
Thank you, Madam President. So I want to rise and echo all the remarks that Councilwoman Anthony made as well. I just want to thank her for her leadership and thank the Providence City Council Finance Committee for vetting a nearly $600 million budget for this fiscal year. And I think this budget really prioritizes investments in housing. We've heard that loud and clear, in public safety, climate change. And as Councilwoman Anthony pointed out, it's the largest increase in funding for Providence Public Schools in over 15 years, all without raising property taxes. So I just want to put our hands together for Councilwoman Anthony and the entire Finance Committee for all of their hard work during that process. And again, I think the other thing that shouldn't be lost on people, and you just heard it from Councilwoman Anthony, is the fact that there were 2 public hearings. That's never been done prior to Councilwoman Anthony's leadership on the Finance Committee, in over 15 meetings over the past 8 weeks, which is, I think, an incredible record and has truly been instrumental to ensuring that the budget could be vetted appropriately and all those questions were asked in committee. And so I just want to say thank you to all the members of the Finance Committee, Councilwoman Anderbaugh, Councilor Sanchez, Councilman Taylor, also Councilwoman Anthony, and I think this budget is testament to our share. Oh, yes, sorry, yes, Councilwoman Graves, I know kind of late in the game as there were changes there, but this budget is truly a testament to our shared vision as a city to be a thriving, equitable, and sustainable Providence. So I just want to thank you for laying the foundation for a brighter future ahead, and thank you for all of your leadership.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Pichardo.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise to echo what has been said, especially the leadership of Chairwoman Anthony Helen and also the committee for putting all those hours for about 8 or 9 weeks. And but most importantly was to be able to also hear our voice. Those of us who are now part of that committee, we were able to sit down with you and have that conversation and also transparency, as you like to, you've professed since I've gotten to this chamber, and I appreciate that. And I think that over time, I can say that we are truly moving in the right direction because of the fact that a couple of things happened. You listened to us, you listened to the members. We as a body, we advocated strongly for more aid or funding for education. We wish it could be more. And we went out to the community and ensured that we indicated to our constituency, write to us, come to the public hearings. And for a long time, a lot of people showed up, and that's encouraging. I heard it from our constituency. The other is I wanted to commend also was the advocacy from us, but also our Providence residents at the state level, because the message was heard very clear from the residents, from the parent leaders in the public school system and just in education, but also that the state leaders heard us loudly and clear that our kids are not doing great in our school. So they put additional dollars for education. And I hope that we continue this momentum to ensure that we do the right thing and make sure that not just only that we put another $10, $11 million, but if we actually do scale it, where 20 years ago, there should have been more money for education, the state has to continue to make more investment for our kids. And that is, how do we develop a stronger system so that we can have greater success? And so, in summary, is that the participatory in this budget is commendable. I again, commend your leadership and all of us, and look forward to continue to working with all of us to make sure that we advocate for the right issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem Pichardo. Further discussion, Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I would also like to echo all the gratitude to all the folks and individuals that were part of this process. Personally, thank you to my close friends and family for allowing me to be away from other responsibilities in this 305 room for so many long nights. to our clerks, obviously, to our staff. And I just want to speak on one point of this budget, and that is the commitment to our school district. Oh, God. I think it's super important to recognize the investment that we're doing, but I think it's even more important to keep building on this investment going forward. We obviously can't change the decisions that were made in the past by certain city folks, but we can definitely change and control what we do going forward. And I personally have made that commitment to certain community members that, yes, this $5.5 million is great, but it means nothing if we go back the wrong way next year. So I want to be clear and collaborative as much as possible. And to that point, there's going to have to be tough decisions made in the near future for that to happen. One point of the budget that is a big concern of mine, has been a big concern, has been documented by folks out there, the RIPEC, is the amount we spend on public safety. Obviously, we all want to live in safe communities. We want to make sure that our police and fire department are well-resourced. But we, as a municipality of this size, of this budget, spend way, way too much on public safety, and we are increasing it this year. Obviously, there was some changes made in those budgets, but we really, really need to look deep, have conversations, keep having conversations with Chief Perez, with the mayor, on how we prioritize our funds going forward, where we're able to give our schools, give the rec department, give parks more money, because at the end of the day, those are the real decisions and impacts in our communities that deter crime, that keep people busy, that give more opportunities to the youth of our city. So with that being said, I do want to finish my comments on a high note. There was a lot of work. There is positives in this budget, but there's also things that we can do better, and we need to look at those challenges going forward in a more serious manner. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Sanchez. Further discussion on items 32 through 35. Councilwoman Peterson.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to echo some of the fellow sentiments that were here. I want to thank this Finance Committee for really, truly dedicating all that time. I wasn't able to go to every one of the meetings, but the ones that I was at, I think, were the longest. And being there until 8, 9 o'clock at night after putting in a full day of work and listening, and I commend you all, because I know how hard and how hard of a task it is. And I just wanted to just quickly say how much I appreciate this council prioritizing the education of our students. I think what we did was we set an example here this year that we are going to prioritize the youth in this community, in this city, and I just wanted to say that I'm here for it. Thank you, because this is something that was really important to me, and I really look forward to making sure that we continue to do that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Anderbaugh.
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Aye.
Councilman Espinal.
Aye.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves.
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves.
Aye.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson.
Aye.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Aye.
Councilor Royas.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryan.
Aye.
Majority Whip Sanchez.
Aye.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Aye.
Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Aye.
You have 15 ayes. The motion carries. The matters are passed for the first time on a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 36, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 36 through 48 and pass on a voice vote and refer back to the Board of Contract and Supply.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 36 through 48?
Madam President,
Yes. Chairwoman Anthony.
I'd like to stand and address items 37 through 44.
Please.
Thank you. Items 37 through 44 together award almost $400 million for school construction projects. The contracts are for new construction or renovation of the following schools: Barton Gregorian, Hope, Del Sesto, Robert F. Kennedy, Nathaniel Green, Roger Williams, Anthony Carnevale, and the Martin Luther King. If awarded, these contracts are contingent upon the $4 million school bond that will be on this November's ballot. So I just want to make sure everyone realizes that these are contingent. And the reason they're on our agenda and came in a very fast and furious way is because the city will receive an extra reimbursement of 9% of the cost of the projects from the state if they are under contract by June 30th, 2024. So our committee had a great deal of discussion, and we did vote 3-2 to recommend approval to the council. It's difficult because there was a lot of conversation on how the council and residents have not been included in the conversations and communications regarding this school construction projects. And really, this argument has been going back for quite a while, even on the prior tranche of construction projects. So we really did deliberate quite a bit. I think for a number of reasons, we felt that there was certainly reasons why this happened the way it did and why it came down so last minute. And while it is a little bit of a leap of faith to say, yes, we should move forward with these, I think it's important. I think we have to keep the goal in mind that we are trying to make sure that our students are educated in schools that are state of the art. Yeah, we may not agree on the decision to do K through 8. We may not agree on which schools are being closed, which are being renovated, but overall, I think it would be very contradictory of us not to vote in favor of these resolutions when we have fought so hard to find an additional $2.5 million to educate our students. And I will say we also were able to agree with RIDE and PPSD to enter a separate memorandum of understanding on how we are going to move forward on the communication, not only with council, but with our residents. And so we are going to spend some time making sure, and I'd love to hear from everyone, and we'll circulate a draft, to make sure that we have something in place that we can hold them accountable to. And so I felt good about that. We are in the process of drafting it, of course, because it involves a bond. It couldn't be attached in any way to the resolutions. But we have agreed, and they are providing us, RIDE is providing us with a draft shortly. And so I am rising to ask, while this is a huge amount of money, it's a huge amount of money, but we're going to have 91% reimbursement. So it seems to me to be an easy yes on these resolutions, and we will hold their toes, hopefully, to the fire on more communication. So I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Councilman Gonsalves.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to echo those remarks from Councilwoman Anthony. This is extraordinary. It is going to set a path for over $900 million in public school bonds when there's over 1.3, I believe, billion in repairs that are needed for Providence Public Schools. So this is a huge step in the right direction, and when we think about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, this is going to ensure that each child, hopefully in the city of Providence, has a 21st century learning environment where they can succeed. And in order for us to ensure that our kids have the academic outcomes that we're looking for, we do need to make sure that they're not in buildings that are dilapidated. We hear it far too often where there's paint chipping off the ceilings, there's leaky roofs, there are mice in the building, all kinds of things, mold, asbestos, and I think our kids and our teachers deserve everything that we're going to be providing with this additional funding, and I hope that the voters will also support the ballot referendum to ensure that these resources become available for our schools. I just want to point out a quick anecdote. I know that Councilor Vargas and also Councilor Pichardo joined me recently for the ribbon cutting of Debate Elementary School. And to just see all of those kids and to see their excited and happy faces, but also to see the dynamic learning that was happening in that building is what all of our kids deserve. So I just want to echo those remarks, and I hope that each of us can support this additional tranche of Phase 4 funding, because it will really go a long way. And I think that the folks in Providence, particularly our families, our students, and our teachers are going to benefit enormously by us passing this additional $400 million in funding that's reimbursed at 91%. So thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on items 36 through 48. Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. This is one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make in my time in office, and I do encourage my colleagues to support this, although I personally will not be supporting this. Let me tell you why. Although I do have concerns regarding the process, I think the circumstances are a little difficult, and that definitely is a concern, but if that was the only concern, I definitely would be supporting these school bonds. But the main reason that I'm not supporting these school bonds is because back in November or December, the Finance Committee was provided a list of the projected projects to be included in this. And the one school in my neighborhood, George A. West Elementary, was part of that list. Fast forward to today. George A. West is not part of this projected list. And what shows us, or the most disappointing part up to this point, is that I haven't been able to see, no one has shown me any public meeting notes where exactly that decision was made to take George A. West off of this batch of schools for renovations. And this is a decision that we've seen in the past that lead to school closures. For example, Carloro, back in 2019, 2018, it was projected to receive a certain amount of money. That didn't happen. What happens? Carloro's closed. And I would be doing a disservice to my direct community, my direct neighbors, to be here, to be able to approve a project that has absolutely no transparency on how that decision was made. So I'm already picturing, hopefully I'm wrong, that in the next decade or so, when these projects are done, we're going to look around in my community and not have a public school, and that to me is completely unacceptable. So I do encourage folks to support this, because it does support the greater good of our building. Obviously, there's some transparency, communication concerns, but that's up to us at this point to be a part of those accountability measures. And the last point I would like to make on this is we really need to hold the administration, the project managers accountable. We're all aware of a recent news article that came to light. We obviously can't change what's happened the past year, but what we do have is control of what we can do now, and we need to make sure that whoever it is, public property or our construction manager, has the right capacity to be able to lead these massive projects and to have the right accountability mechanisms in place to making sure that the bills are getting paid, contracts are correct, so we don't put ourselves in any possible liability situation down the road. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Reyes.
Madam President, thank you. I just want to also just echo one of the sentiments of my colleagues here. I too will be supporting these contracts, and for good reason. And I'll remind my colleagues that Obviously, we are experiencing right now a heat wave, and right now our teachers across the city are teaching in summer school and are experiencing unbearable heat in the classroom. It's very, very unsafe. And so when I think about new school buildings, I think about creating places of inspiration for our staff and for our students, and not places of distraction and discomfort, which is what they're experiencing on the day-to-day. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Other discussion on these items? Councilwoman Graves.
I'm not going to stand. My joints are killing me. But I am going to vote no. I, too, agree that I would love for all of our children to have a beautiful building. I would love for all of our teachers to be able to go somewhere and not have to worry about the distractions and the heat and everything else. However, we're talking about 8 schools, maybe 14 at the end. What's going to happen to the other schools? They have to keep these schools up for 20 years. So if they're keeping these schools up for 20 years, what schools are they going to be neglecting? I have a school that is in the budget, and I would love to see it beautified and put up there. But I got other schools in there. I want all of our students, all of our teachers, and all of our schools to be treated with respect and shown some love. We are always pitting our students, our teachers, our neighborhoods against one another, and that shouldn't happen. If I can get Nathaniel Green done and Harry Kazarian done, what about Times Square? What about Paul Cuffey? What about Central? What about Classical? What about the ones on any side? Because all of our students on any side in any neighborhood should be treated the same way. I also believe that we put the cart before the horse. We knew that this was contingent on the bonds. Everybody said, oh, well, the bonds always pass. The only thing about things that always happen, there comes along a time when it doesn't happen. If that bond does not pass, who is liable? Us? Can the city afford to take that hit? No, we cannot. So who are we going to go to? Are we going to go to the people and say, well, we took a shot at this. It didn't work out. Your taxes are going to have to be raised. I have a problem with this. And I also have a problem with the fact that people know about things in advance, but then they want to come before us at the last minute and say, this needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. What we need to be doing now is making sure that all of your schools, all of your students are treated fairly. What we need to do now is make sure that all you teachers are treated fairly. You're all getting the same thing. And everybody said, wait. Well, I suggest that you read a letter from Birmingham jail and listen to what MLK has to say about us waiting. I am a minority that has heard those words too many times. And what happens is we keep getting pushed back and pushed back while other things keep on going forward. If we keep doing this, all of our schools will be closed and become, I have nothing against charter schools, but will become charter schools. Or all of our schools will be closed as they cram in pre-K to 8th. And who's to say it's not going to be pre-K to 12? All the students don't need to be crammed in together. We know there's bullying. Why are we doing these things? Why are we rushing? I too hope that these schools be built and they be beautiful. But I also have to look at in the face of all them kids that don't get to go there. And I will be voting no.
Thank you, Counselor. Further discussion? I'm sorry. Oh, Councilwoman Anna Roth.
Thank you, Council President. I know, we're like tucked in the corner over here. Thank you so much. I just wanted to, I guess I'll rise. Here we go. Rise in support of the $400 million that will be on the ballot, assuming we vote yes today, for our schools. I just wanted to share a few things. The first being, to agree with Councilwoman Grace, our kids know when they're being disinvested in. You know, as a kid, like when you're being disinvested in. Even if you don't have children, we all were children. We went to school. We knew when the ceilings were crumbling. We felt that. We knew what that felt like to walk into those types of buildings. It doesn't feel great. And we've had a lot of conversations in this room about how we better invest in our kids. And I want to point out, so this is the 4th phase of funding for our school buildings. By the time this construction would be done, there would be 20,000 seats of new or like new or substantially renovated seats for our students. It's not every school. I think it was incorrectly shared with us originally. It's all the kids, but it's 20,000 seats, not in 100% of the schools. But that's amazing. 20,000 seats for students, and our enrollment has been declining. This is us opening the door to say more students should come and be in these beautiful buildings. And we could keep going. Like if we finish this construction and we have favorable bond opportunities later, let's do the rest, you know? That sounds amazing. And I also just want to point out, so I'm a big process person, I think we all know that. I also didn't love this process that was very rushed at the end. And that occasionally we have to, I was about to say something that would have been inappropriate on the floor, which I won't do. Occasionally you have to do things that are not ideal, because that's the process that's handed to you. The state had the deadline of June 30. There was advocacy to move that deadline back so we could have more time. That did not work. And so the state was saying, if you want to have the 91% reimbursement, contracts need to be signed by June 30. If instead we went to the 82% reimbursement if we waited, which is our right to wait, that's tens of millions of dollars, which is at least one school project. That's Martin Luther King, or that's Hope. That's one of the schools that we're telling the kids, no, not you this time, because we couldn't get this done for you. So I just want to point that out. And also one other thing that I'm really excited about pertaining to what Councilman Roya said about the energy use. The commitment from the schools, partly because of what we all passed together, the carbon neutral ordinance earlier this year, but they'll be making substantial, large investments in energy efficiency. And so we've been promised that final 9%, so we get 91% reimbursement, that final 9% will be made up in the energy savings and our energy bills from the deep, deep energy efficiency that we're going to do in these schools. So it basically has a zero impact to our taxpayers to renovate $400 million worth of renovations in our schools. So I just want to share all of that. I hope you join me in voting yes. I respect and understand my colleagues who have concerns, but I really hope the rest of us vote yes on these, because these would be game-changing for our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Roy. Councilman Royas.
Madam President, apologize to my colleagues for speaking a second time here. I want to speak to this valid concern that some councilors have brought to me. I just want to be on record, in terms of saying this to you all. There is concern that your schools, certain schools in your neighborhood, have been left out of this list to be renovated, and there's a belief out there that if your school's not on this list, that we are setting your school up to be charterized in the future, closed down, left vacant for charter schools. And I just want to be on record of saying, I am going to stand with you to fight that if that happens. So just please count on me as a partner in that fight. That is hopefully not the intended or perhaps unintended consequence of this. I will not allow that to happen on my watch without a fight. So thank you, Madam President.
You, Councilor. Councilwoman Peterson.
Thank you. Thank you. Really quickly, I want to just convey a sentiment of, I don't know if anybody saw me at the Finance Committee, but I was very much on board with these $400 million, with this bond. It was extremely important. This affects one school in particular in my community, in Ward 14, and I have been very forthcoming, or at least tried to be, with my community to make sure that they're fully aware of what's happening, what's coming forward. I just want to point out to my fellow counselors that the advocacy that we need to do, that we should be doing in all of our communities, lies with us. We need to be advocating and asking our parents, our teachers, our leaders at our schools, what exactly it is that they're envisioning, our community outside the school. It's something that I made a commitment to when I became an elected official, and I intend to see that through. I don't have any sort of problem with keeping up with the accountability that the students, the community, and the teachers at Kennedy deserve. I too have 2 other schools that have nothing coming forward, and that is not something that I don't take into consideration. But for me, it is extremely important to make sure that we have an opportunity, because we don't necessarily have neighborhood schools. We have kids that are coming from other communities, from the George J. West neighborhood, from the Smith Hill neighborhood into our schools. And I think it's extremely important to consider this as a community-driven decision, not just a ward-based decision. So I just wanted to point that out. I appreciate the sentiments of my fellow counselors, but in this particular one, I'm a Providence resident and I'm a Providence leader, and I will see that forward with this particular decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion on items 36 through 48? Hearing none. All in favor, and if you could please raise your hands as well as say aye.
Aye.
And keep them up until we get a nod from Madam Clerk. I'm sorry, hold on. Are we good with all in favor?
I think we're good. If I could just clarify that Councilor Sanchez and Councilwoman Graves are only voting no on the school matters, which would be
items 37 through,
well, right, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 43, 44, and 45. Would those be the only matters that you are voting no on? Is that correct? And you're voting yes on all the other matters? Councilwoman Graves, we're good.
Thank you. Any abstentions? All right. Thank you very much. The matters pass. Before we move to item 49, I'd like to ask the Pro Tem Pichardo to please take the chair so that I can speak on this matter.
Thank you very much. On item number 49, first we're going to have our city solicitor just explain the voting process so that our colleagues are crystal clear on how to
Mr.
vote on this
President,
matter.
real quickly, motion to waive the reading of item 49 and reject on a roll call, and then the city solicitor can explain.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr.
There is a
President.
second. At this time, we'll have the city solicitor up front.
Okay. The motion before the body is a motion to reject. That means that all aye votes would be no on the lease. Any no votes would be in support of the lease, because the motion before the body is a motion to reject the lease agreement.
Everyone get that? All right. On the motion, on 49, would you like to restate it?
Nope.
Again,
Majority Leader?
motion to waive the reading of item 49 and reject on a roll call vote.
Second, Mr. President.
There is a second. Any discussion?
Pro Tem Pichardo. Mr. Chair.
President Miller.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm rising and asking the council to affirm what the Finance Committee did and reject this proposal. So A few things. In very much tonight could be a education night in council, although I think every night is an education night in this city council. I believe that all 15 of us are fully dedicated to seeing success for every student. I think that sometimes we might not agree on the path there. And I think that is, as it should be sometimes. However, the proposal in front of us tonight to move Carl Lauro, we heard a little bit about the history. So construction at Carl Lauro actually started in 1925. So it's been 100 years. First the Kenyon Street School and then the Carl Lauro School. At one point, not that long ago, in I think 2014 or 2015, Carl Lauro School was the largest elementary school in the state of Rhode Island. It's had its place as one of the largest elementary schools in New England. It served for generations. It served families, first and second generation immigrant families. Most recently, prior to it closing, it served the largest number of English as a second language students in the state. It was a beloved community in Federal Hill, and I was saddened when it was closed. So what changed between 2014, 2015, when it was at the height of the number of students in that building, and today? And one of the major things that changed is that charter schools expanded rapidly in the city of Providence. And so, again, I said this at the hearing, and I'll say it again. I went to the charter schools in question. I visited with them. This is not about being against them. I think all teachers in the city of Providence are dedicated professionals, and I want to thank you all so much for being here after being very hot in school all day, to then be very hot in the City Hall chambers tonight is much appreciated. So it's not about, denigrating the two charters, but it is about the fact that we have a system that creates inequity and creates tiers, right? And so when dollars walk away with a student out of Providence Public Schools and into a so-called public charter that have their own, also access to their own resources, access to their own finances, it does hurt our full system. And until we can sort of figure out how to work together and that charge is on us. We are taking it up tonight. We worked really hard, and I'm incredibly proud of what we did to increase funding allocation in the budget. I'm proud of the school construction that's been happening under our watch. We have to figure out how we can improve outcomes for every student. We have to do it together. And I believe that moving forward with the proposal at Carl Lauro is moving away from that. So there was a young woman who came to the public hearing. She's a junior at PCTA, and she put it so well, because a lot of the testimony was about how great it is for students at charter schools. And she kind of got up and she said, why isn't it great for all of us, right? Like, why are we talking about this as if we can't have great things at PCTA, we can't have great things for our students in our schools? And I have been thinking about her a lot since we met her that night, and all the other students and teachers who came and testified. And I'm asking you to vote affirmatively to what the Finance Committee did to reject this proposal. Thank you very much, Pro Tem.
Pro Tem.
Thank you, President Miller. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Helen Anthony.
Thank you. I'd also like just to add one thing that's happened since we had the public hearing on the Carl Lauro lease. We have received communication from the Providence Public Schools that they very much would like to use Carl Lauro as swing space. And so what that means to our students is that some of these projects, because we have swing space available and it's vacant now, that we can actually expedite and speed up the process for the renovation and construction of our schools. So I just wanted to add that because I think it should impact our decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Althea Graves.
I too am going to say yes. I swear it's like a double negative. I get confused all the time. But anyways, as I stated when we had our public hearing, we can't just keep draining one and lifting the other ones because it's not fair. The students voiced their concerns that they felt like not even bad stepchildren, someone that, that nobody loved them. And I could feel their emotions when they were talking. I could feel the emotions of the teachers when they were talking. I mean, we cannot throw one baby away to improve the lot of the other one. We can't do that. We have to figure out a way of making it fair and just for everybody. And as far as I can see, right now, we do not have the finances to make it that way. And until we do, I suggest, and I will fight, as my colleague said, to stop this. We need to make sure that we bring our public schools up to par. Once they are all up to par, then open up more charter schools. Then do whatever else, but we cannot and we should not abandon one child or toss that away to feed and clothe the other. So I am 100% for this.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Peterson.
Thank you. I'm not going to stand anymore. Sorry, guys. I'm tired today. Thank you, Madam President, for your words. It's exactly the line of commentary that I was going to make. And really, I think for me, at this point in time, and it's something that I've often talked about, I said it when we were here last year, advocating on the reasons why that initial lease that came before us last year wasn't necessarily a good fit for us and for our public schools. I want to start by saying I support people's decision making to make sure that they pick whatever is best for their families, for their children. I think that is the most beautiful thing that we have, is to be able to do that. With that being said, I think that there's a larger conversation that has not continued to happen, and that ongoing, I'm asking on record now to make sure that that conversation starts happening. We have charter schools, public schools in general, but nobody has actually discussed, hey, this is the path forward, and this is what we're intending to do. And I'm asking for that, for not only for my community, but the entire city of Providence. I think that that is the most respectful thing that we could do for families and children. And what better of a council to actually advocate for that than the one here that is absolutely committed to making sure that education is done the right way for our community. So that's my call to action. That's my advocacy. I look forward to seeing that happen. That's it. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Goncalves.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Madam President, for your words. And I just want to say it's so important, especially as we've heard from our council president. This is in her ward, and I think, this is kind of the unspoken rule, but I really hope that moving forward, we do respect what happens in each other's wards. I think it's somewhat problematic that members outside of her ward, for example, were bringing this forth before the council, but that's neither here nor there. I would say that, look, it's crucial that we prioritize our public education for public buildings, and I also want to say something that echoes sort of the remarks that were made by other folks, but is something that needs to be said. When you look at the track record of some of our charter organizations, and look, I teach at a private school, I went to public school, I kind of have a very nuanced view on this. some of these charter organizations have kind of a very spotty record when it comes to supporting multilingual and special education services. And that raises questions about their preparedness to serve all of our students inclusively. So I think that's a very important thing that we need to scrutinize. We need to make sure that every single kid, every single family in the city of Providence has access to an equitable education, and this just perpetuates those disparities that we're already seeing in our system. So I just want to say thank you to this council for your leadership. I do urge all of our colleagues to reject this proposal. I think what you heard from Councilwoman Anthony is a very, very critical point. If we're able to leverage this space as a swing space, that accelerates a lot of these projects for our public school students. In light of these considerations, again, I stand with the council president. I stand with my colleagues who are opposing this proposal. I stand with the teachers unions who showed up today to advocate on behalf of their students and their families. And I think our current focus should be on enriching our public schools and providing them with the necessary support for all students, teachers, and families to thrive, as opposed to pitting schools against each other. So I just want to thank everyone for their advocacy and their dedication to our public schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Pro Temp. Today I rise in strong opposition of this charter lease for many different reasons. I think, going back to my colleague's sentiments, I think as city councilors, especially as folks like myself that don't have any kids, we're never in the position to tell a family what's best for their child or family. So I think we should definitely leave that up to individual families. But as city leaders, our responsibility is to make sure that all of the students in our city have an opportunity to a high quality public education. And charter school expansion, the way the system is built right now, is super counterproductive. Two main points I want to touch on that. The way it's currently built right now with RIDE, how charter organizations can receive approval for expansion without having location identified is going to create tension going forward. So I think we should advocate next year at the State House as City Council to get that changed. For example, if you want to open up a cannabis retail shop in the state of Rhode Island, you need to have identified location on your application. It should be very similar when it comes to charter schools. Point B on this topic is that it is factually confirmed by RIDE, by PPSD, that the more the charter schools expand in our city, the more money directly comes out of PPSD. So as long as that's in place, any charter school opening, whether they have a good history or bad history, it's financially hurting our school district. And for that reason, we should all be opposed to charter schools for the time being in the city of Providence. My last point, it might hurt a few feelings, but I do want to call out the administration for putting this proposal through. It was set up to fail from the beginning with the reasons that some of my colleagues have said. By not having the counselor in the ward identified to support it, it hurts my heart to see families, mostly brown Latino families, come before us to advocate for their families, not knowing the politics behind said decision. It's important that we're clear and as honest and direct as possible. And the last thing that I think needs to be said is whoever the mayor is, they should never be on a board of a charter school. It was the same with the last mayor, it's the same with this mayor. As long as that's in place, it's gonna create this unnecessary, uncomfortable tension. So with that being said, I do oppose this lease very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Vargas.
Thank you very much, President. I rise to say that I did put this ordinance through. I am the lead member to get this building to be a school for my kids. I got 300 minority students waiting in line to get a building for a charter school. But I understand that things happen and has to look for a solution. I understand that very clear. And I want to say thank you to all the teachers and the union teachers and the parents who came here to show support on you own the public school. I came from a public school. I came from Central High School. And I'm very proud to be a student of public school. But my constituents are asking, when we going to get a charter school? Because I got my kids online waiting for this. So something has to happen, like my colleague said. We have to meet and see what we're doing wrong and what we can do better to attract these parents and these kids. I know the public school doing a great job, working very hard, and with this support that we're getting to the public school today, we're getting more money, and we want to be working very hard to get more funds to have the better public school department in the whole city. And that's why I like going back to the ordinance. I put it because I had to listen to my constituents. My constituents are calling me. They are the one who's asking for. And I'm sorry if I overstep a different ward. It's the only building that we have. And I apologize, but for education, I do the best to have a better education for any children in the city of Providence.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Taylor.
So I wasn't going to stand up and speak, but I feel I need to speak. I'm not asking for anybody's vote one way or the other, but I want to explain, not that I need to explain, but I want to explain why that I co-sponsored this resolution. One reason is, well, first to stop one thing is about apologizing for putting things in other wards. I cannot apologize because, I mean, things have happened in the past. I lost my Christopher Columbus statue, and that wasn't me for asking for getting rid of it. It was a committee created, and it was created by nobody in Ward 8, and now the Christopher Columbus statue, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, is now in Johnston. So that's number one. Number two is, the reason I sponsored it was the administration asked, as well as the sponsor, if I would sponsor this, and I said yeah, because I want to vet it out. I want to hear from the teachers, and I want to hear from my constituents. And I did hear from both. Both at the meeting, there was, I believe, 45 people from Achievement First that were there. Not everybody spoke. And there was 24 teachers that spoke. And I have, actually, my sister-in-law is a teacher, and she called me up and asked me, why are you sponsoring this? What are you doing? You know I'm a teacher in the city of Providence. I said, I understand. I'm a single father of 2 boys who went to Reservoir Avenue School. And when after Reservoir Avenue School, for middle school, as a single father, I had a choice to send them to Roger Williams School, middle school, or Gilbert Stewart Middle School. I didn't like either one of those choices. So I put, which I didn't even believe was legal when I went to it back in the time, I put my oldest son into a lottery. And I went to the lottery, and they said, okay, they had jars, I'll never forget it. I don't know if they do that anymore, but I was sitting to myself going, I don't think this is legal. But they had a jar, and they said, we're going to pick 4 African women. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So when it came to my son, they picked, it was, I'll never forget it, there was 3 Caucasian males. It was my son and another kid named Joshua was the only 2 that put in for it. So when you talk minority, my son was the minority in that school. My son stayed at that school ×2 until 9th grade, and then he went to PCTA. My youngest son got out of Reservoir Avenue School and went to ×2 under the family thing. And he stayed there until 8th grade and went to classical. 1 graduated from classical, 1 graduated from PCTA. But the reason I bring this up and why I signed it was because I was torn as a single father. I didn't want my kids to go there. So when people stand up and say, they always say you shoot from where you sit. I'm shooting from where I sat. I had 2 kids that I didn't want to go to either one of those schools. And I chose for them to go. And I had the kids. I had the 2 kids to prove for it, where some of my, obviously, council members weren't here back then. Their kids didn't go to school. They don't even have kids that went to school, or they maybe went to school years ago. But also, I want to mention that as a fireman, I came on 1987, and I always tell people the reason I came from North Kingstown. I went from North Kingstown. I had to move to Providence because of a residency law. At the time, people were upset with the residency law. They didn't want to have a residency law. And in 2000, I think it was 2 or 6, one of those, I don't even remember, the residency law went to the General Assembly and said that teachers, firefighters, and police do not need to live in the city. Boom, by the time that thing was signed, teachers, firefighters, and police were out of the city. I believe in residency. I think the teachers, the firefighters, and the police should live in the city, and I'll stand here and tell anybody that. I stayed here. I could have moved out. I put my kids through public school, like I said, but ×2 was the example. And also, I got 100 letters, let's say, from the teachers, and no disrespect to the teachers. You guys do a great job. Matter of fact, I'm standing up here today speaking, and we're talking about all this school stuff. And last Friday, we had the 100th anniversary of Reservoir Avenue School. And I came out of there, it was like a sauna. I'm like, geez, it's so hot in here. And you know why? The air conditioning's broken. Today, my phone's blowing up because Alfred Lima, the charter school now, they have no air conditioning. So I called James Scott. I said, what's going on over here? The 2 hottest days, obviously yesterday was a holiday, but the 2 hottest days, these kids are burning in these schools. Oh, we're going to send over some fans and some popsicles and water. Send the kids home. What are we doing? And I understand the councilman, those 2 schools aren't even on the list to be fixed, and they don't have air conditioning. And send the kids home. So I'm not against the teachers, but when I get 100 letters from teachers, there's probably a handful that live in the city. The rest of them don't live in the city, or they're putting the address of the school or the But on the other hand, I'm getting 50 letters from constituents begging me from Ward 8, saying, please, give me this opportunity for my child to have a good education. And I step back and listen and say to myself, that's me. That's me when my kids were going to school. I was saying this. I need a good education. I sat here, used to come to council meetings before, and some of the colleagues I know, Mary Kay and Joanne, I'm putting you on the spot because you're the oldest ones here. No. But they can sit. I'm saying this because I can remember Councilman Igliozzi would sit where Councilman Vargas is now, and he would stand up every time a teacher's contract or whatever, everything came about the schools, the same old thing he would say. He said, I have Perry Middle School. It is Achievement First School, and it's the best school in the city. And I used to sit there and listen. I don't know the school that well, and he would sit there and he would say, he'd vote against whatever it was, saying about how John Hopkins came out with this, and we got lower than 10% with the kids with math and this and that. The other day I read in ×2, talking about ×2, it had the best performance for kids showing up to school. So I'm not against public schools. I'm not 100% for charter schools, but we got to come up with a happy medium here. And I'm not asking, I'm going to vote to have the lease, but I know the votes aren't there. But I hope you understand, I'm shooting from where I sit. I had 2 kids that I had to make a decision. As a single father, the mother wasn't around. I had to make the choice. And I made that choice, and I would make that choice again. So I'm here for my families and my Ward 8 residents who are asking me to do something, because as we all know, the city's 2 different. We have Ward 8, and then we have the east side. And I hate to pit the east side on this, but I'm just saying that it's different. The schools are different. My kid graduated from PCTA. 2 white people, 1 white boy, my son, and 1 white girl who graduated. So when they talk about minorities, my sons were minorities going through school. So thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that. Sorry.
Councilwoman and Underboys. I always get that messed up. I don't know why. You're my group.
That. But agree with what a lot of my colleagues have already said, and I want to point out 2 quick things. One, to just put a finer point on what Councilwoman Anthony shared earlier. The letter, and I just reread it, the letter we got from Superintendent Montañez points out that this could shave not only several years off of the construction, but about $15 million. So that's $15 million additional dollars for Providence taxpayers if we use this as swing space over the next couple years. It doesn't mean in 3 or 4 years we can't say, let's rethink this decision. I'd probably still vote the same way, I'm just gonna be real, but like, we can have this conversation again in 4 years once we have more information, but in the meantime, why don't we save about $15 million and more quickly fix our schools? And the second is, the pre-K classrooms at the MLK school on the east side have not had bathrooms for the last several years. And so I know that there's this constant like east side versus everyone else thing, and I'm really sick of it. And so I just want to say that on the record, like all of our children deserve love and respect, and schools that respect them as individuals. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Royas.
Thank you, Pro Temp. I just want to make a few remarks. I'll be opposing this lease for a few reasons, and I just wanted to state to my colleague who expressed that he has a nuanced view on this, I do too. I've worked in traditional public schools. I've worked at a charter school. For those who might know, I'm a full-time school social worker, and so I don't view teachers or staff in either charter schools or traditional public schools as the enemy. I think every staff member in the charter school and the traditional public schools working their tail off to provide their students the best education possible. I think for me, for where I stand, I live in the special education world at my job. I don't want to bog you all down with what that means, but you know, in my world, in my role, I'm serving some of the most vulnerable students on the day-to-day. I'm going to try to explain this in layman terms, but it is an empirical fact that charters do siphon funds away from our traditional public schools. For me, I care deeply about that because there is a pool of funding for regular ed students, and then there's, you know, and then that regular ed pool of funding also helps to pay for the services that special education students require. And because their needs are so great, they tend to be, you know, more expensive to fund those services. I could get into as to why, but when we open up charter schools, our special education students are hurt the most. And so I want to stand here today to advocate on their behalf by opposing this lease. The other thing I want to say is, you know, a lot of my colleagues here, and I don't want to paint you as pro-charter, pro-public school. I think it's just ridiculous. But what I would say is that many of you here have a strong belief in school choice. What I would just echo is that, and remind my colleagues here, is that if this lease passes, about 120 seats in that building will go to students who don't live in Providence. That's a great amount of seats. I, as a counselor, have a responsibility to be a good steward of our public school buildings. And for me, now while I love young people across the state, and they deserve so much love, I want to make sure that building and our resources are going to our students living in the city. When it comes to Excel Academy and Achievement First, they have an 80%, 20% enrollment, which means 80% of those seats will be occupied by Providence students. 20% will not. I have a problem with that. And so I want to echo those sentiments and hope that it could persuade you all to oppose this lease. Thank you, Pro Temp.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Good evening, everyone. For me, only I want to say something because public school, my kids went there. Charter school, I had experience too. So no matter what school you go, the matter is what education you give it to the kids. So right now, the building not giving anything. The teacher can be here and give it education. So we have a good teacher, we have better place to kids go and go forward. So for me, Anama says, where's the kid go? Because the kids have the kids to open many doors for education. And here in Providence, specifically in Providence, the education in public school is not very good compared to the Massachusetts. That's the reason we had to move forward to the state to get it until there. So we discussing with the building, we discussing for the charter school. We have so many charter schools doing better job. And also for the public school, and not have a uniform. So that particular for me is very special when a kid have a uniform, where do you belong? Because in my country, when I grow up for the public school, it's very difficult. So the parent has to do an extra mile to pay some money to get a better education for the private school. So no matter where you go, or no matter where the kid you send it, the matter is where's the best education. Here in Providence, we have to be the smallest state for the better and better, because we have the Brown University. We have so many universities that the kids in here to belong never went there. Never. So we have another people can go to the different state to get a better education. So what is discussing now? The kids, the public school, the public building, please. We have a lot of charter school. We have a lot of opportunity for the public school to get it and better and better and better for our kids. So right now we have one school closed, 360, no more, disappeared. So why are you discussing? The public school is no. We fighting for that? No. We don't have money. We don't have this. We don't have that. We have money because when you wanted something, you go forward for that. And that's what made me mad, because close that school. When the kids feel better, we feel grow up. My kids went there, so when I went the last time to the graduation, I feel so sad that we not can continue to give a better education for the kids. That's my only opinion. This is my own opinion, because I have a proof, I have a kids in the school, public, and also for the charter school, because I have a 4. And thank God my kids went to the university, my daughter served to the army, my other son just already, and also for myself, I had to go back to the school. So because I need to improve myself, open many doors for education. And that's what we need to do, open many doors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you. I just want to make 2 quick comments. I think using Carl as a swing space is a good idea, but I don't want to jump into it right away. This building was closed for one of the primary reasons being the condition of the building, so I need a little bit more clarification on how we're going to put kids right back into that building. So that's my first comment. And my second comment, I just want to address a comment I heard today on the floor comparing white minorities in certain spaces to black and brown minorities. I believe that's completely uncomparable. The systems of oppression that black and brown minorities face in certain settings isn't comparable to a white minority in a certain space. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Althea Graves.
I just want to make it clear that public schools, everybody wants to vilify it or make it less than it was, and everything's bad, or they're not getting the education. My Harry Kazarian school, they were 5-star public school. Nathaniel Green had, I don't know how many scholars that they're doing really well. I went to all their little honor rolls and all this other, and the place is full. Those are public schools. Charter school, times 2. They have the highest attendance rate in anywhere. So I'm not trying to say that, I want us to stop trying to say that it's, our kids can't do well in public schools, because they can. We just got to put in the effort, put in the love, and put in all these other things. If we only do really well and dress up the nice little charter school or a certain school, then of course everybody's going to feel happy. You know, colors, brightness makes us feel happy. That's joy. You know, we see that. But it takes us putting in the work. It takes the kids putting in the work. But it also takes us not trying to put any child down, not any child. Because all the children can do well if we spend time, money, and give them love. All children can do well, no matter where they are. So I just want to get out of that mindset. The schools look bad, but even if the school looked bad, I went to some horrible looking schools. But I graduated with top honors. So no, it's not that. It was the attention that my teachers gave me. I can point out, I can tell you, Miss Nagosian was my first grade teacher. I remember her well. Mrs. Green was my 5th grade teacher. There are certain people that you can find that help you get to where you're going. Your family is a big part, but if you get a good teacher, I don't care what school they're in. If you give them the right resources, if you spend time, all of our children can excel. But I want us to make sure that all of our children excel. That's my only biggest point, and that's my biggest thing is we have to make sure, all of us, that these children feel that they are worthy. We got to make sure that they know that we care. We got to nurture them, all of them. It doesn't make a difference where they come from. It doesn't make a difference what they look like, what color their skin. It should not make a difference one way or the other. So let's get our little mindsets, our little biases. We got to get out of all that and get into the fact that we need to love our children and make sure that they love themselves. The only other point I want to make is, please give us the instructions again, because I heard people saying that they're gonna that they were gonna reject, and I think they meant that they were gonna say aye. So please make sure we get it again, because we are kind of slow children here.
We certainly will. Thank you, Councilwoman Graves.
Yes.
Councilwoman, no? Anyone else who would like to say a few words? All right. At this time, what we'll do is repeat the instructions before calling on the vote. From the legal department.
Yes. Again, the motion before the body is a motion to reject the lease. So if you vote aye, you are voting no to the lease. If you vote no, you're voting that you support the lease. So it's the opposite. Aye is no on the lease, no is yes to the lease.
Thank you. All right. So, on the motion to reject the resolution of the City Council authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with Achievement First Rhode Island, Incorporated, and Excel Academy Rhode Island for an initial period not to exceed 30 years and total period not to exceed 60 years for the property at the Carl G. Laurel Elementary School at 99 Kenyon Street. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Council President Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Anderbois.
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Aye.
Councilman Espinal. Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves.
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves.
Aye.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson.
Aye.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Aye.
Councilor Royas.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryan.
Abstain?
Majority Whip Sanchez.
Aye.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Nay.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Nay.
Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Nay.
You have 10 ayes, 4 nays, 1 abstain. The motion carries. The matter is rejected.
Thank you. Madam President?
Thank you so much, Pro Tem, for stepping in and sharing and allowing me to participate in the discussion. Madam Clerk, please read item 50.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 50 and deny without prejudice.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 50? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 51.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 51 and pass for the first time on a roll call vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 51? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Anderbois.
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Aye.
Councilman Espinal. Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves.
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves.
Aye.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson. Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Aye.
Councilor Royas. Councilwoman Ryan. Majority Whip Sanchez. Majority Leader Taylor.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas. Councilman Oscar Vargas. You have 15 ayes. The motion carries. The matter is passed for the first time on a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 52.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 52 through 56.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 52 through 56? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Please refer item 52 to the Committee on Ordinances, 53 to Claims and Pending Suits, and note 54 through 56 as received.
So noted.
Before we move to 57, I'd just like to take a point of personal expression on 3 things. One, I want to thank and congratulate this council for passing the budget. I think it's a truly strong budget, and I am proud of it and proud of the work the Finance Committee did, and really grateful to the finance team who's in the back tonight, and to really good conversations and collaboration with Mayor Smiley. So it's a big congratulations to us, and I think it's a good thing for the city. 2, I would like to congratulate Deputy Majority Leader Harris, who was honored at a lunch today from Congressman Magaziner. Thank you. It was a beautiful event. It's such an honor to serve with you. It was a truly beautiful event, and it was well-deserved. And 3, I would like to wish our Chief of Staff, June Rose, a very happy birthday. And I am grateful that June has joined our team, and I think has been a really, really wonderful addition in serving every single member of this council. So happy birthday. And with that, item 57, please. I'm sorry. Oh, Councilwoman Graves.
While you're doing the accolades, I would like to wish Sue a happy anniversary.
Point of personal privilege, I would like to wish the same to Councilwoman Graves.
Pro Tem Pichardo.
Madam President, personal expression, please. Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to thank everyone for, as I customary would just use this as a, once you do the budget, then you go home, right? At the legislative experience at the State House. But we continue to do our work. I just wanted to express that all that has been expressed today in reference to education, that it's, again, once again, we are so committed to educating and bringing fairness and equity to our city and our kids, because we know we're the future, right? And that they're the future. I was at Gilbert Stewart today at 12 o'clock, and it was hot. And they brought me into one of the classrooms that had the AC, and there were only like 4 students there. And that's one of the schools that's going to be redone or rebuilt and so forth, a new school. And I know all that was expressed today was heartfelt, and that's what we've been striving for all these years. As a seventh grader student that came to Gilbert Stewart to see in newer schools, and our kids deserve these newer schools going into and leaving a legacy into the 21st century. So with that said, Madam President, the last thing I wanted to express was that all Providence residents who are qualified over 18 have several days to declare their interest in running for public office, especially for the Providence Public School Board. So they have, the deadline is June 24th, 25th, and 26th to declare their candidacy. So that is something that we, for the first time in a long time, the voters requested that there will be a hybrid a school board, thanks to this body and their affirm vote, and that they too can run now for a seat in the school board in the Providence school system. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Councilwoman Peterson.
Point of personal expression, Madam President, thank you. That was a beautiful segue of civic engagement, so I appreciate that. I just wanted to invite this council to the dedication ceremony that we're having at Fargnoli Park this coming Saturday. It's going to be a beautiful event, and there's going to be a lot of kids there, and you get to see Fargnoli in its beautiful light, which I love most. But hoping that you guys can come with me and share in the nice opportunity. And then the second thing is, we have a Latino open house coming up next week, and if you could advocate to your communities that this is happening, we would love to see as many people here. I have to say, this open house idea is something that I really appreciate as we're segueing into these multiple opportunities to meet our neighbors. So I just want to thank June for that opportunity to do this. And so if you could possibly do some inviting, I'd love to see everybody there. That's it. Thank you.
June 26th.
Thank you. Councilwoman Anderbrough.
Last thing I promised, point of personal privilege. While we're talking about things coming up, I hope folks both go to the Juneteenth event that Councilor Sanchez brought up. That's on Saturday at Innovation Park near the pedestrian bridge. And also, the Parlor on North Main Street at 3rd is hosting a celebration of North Main Street and all it can be. Same time, noon to 8. Stop by anytime. You can go to both events. It's going to be family friendly, but also bands. There's going to be face painting, touch a truck, all sorts of fun stuff. Really celebrating North Main. I think you all know how much time I spend on that street, and would very much appreciate anyone who wanted to stop by and celebrate what it could be and what it already is, and some of the really amazing businesses that are already there. So Saturday at noon. It's the day before my wedding anniversary, and I'm still going, and my husband's so mad at me. So if you guys could really also come, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, item 57, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of number 57
Second.
We have a motion.
and pass on a voice vote. You didn't let me finish.
Well, second.
We have a full motion and a second. Any discussion on item 57? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 58.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of number 58 and pass on a unanimous rising vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam President.
I'm sorry. Oh, Councilman Gonzalez? Councilman Espinal, I'm sorry, I couldn't find you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes.
If I may, I'd just like to extend my condolences to the De La Cruz family. Diana passed away this week from asthma. She's actually the first cousin of our sustainability director, Priscilla De La Cruz. These are very good friends of mine that I know from childhood. So my deepest sympathy to them. And also to my very own family. One of my first cousins, Raul Sandoval, also passed away this week. So I extend my condolences to them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Deeply sorry for your loss. Councilman Gonzalez.
And similarly, Madam President, I just want to extend my condolences to Councilman John Murphy, the former councilman of Ward 1, who was a mentor, but also just an incredible human being who served in this chamber for a very long time. So just want to recognize him and his family, and may he rest in peace.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to suspend Rule 16B of the rules of the City Council in order to take a matter not appearing on the printed docket.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, item 59, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 59 and receive.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 59? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please note 59 as received.
Madam President, if
Majority
there's
Leader.
no further business, I'd like to adjourn. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam President,
Councilwoman.
I would like to make a request that our Majority Leader, in his Frank Sinatra voice, please sing to our Chief of Staff, happy birthday. Thank you.
Wow.
That's
Now,
the
Theo,
most
I'm ahead of you now.
interesting
I don't know how I did that, but that's
Discussion
okay.
point on a motion in the history of the Providence City Council.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear June. Happy birthday to you. Not like Althea.
Any further discussion on this motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you so much. We are adjourned.